Cabello Rasigo moves through Nairobi's tallest tech tower like a storm everyone fears. People clear the hallway when they hear his footsteps. He built his empire from nothing, and now he guards it with strict rules and zero softness. If someone arrives a minute late, he removes them. If anyone shows too much emotion, he dismisses them. If a worker comes unprepared, he ends their contract the same day. His employees call him the unshakable wall. Because nothing seems to touch him, nothing seems to change his expression, and nothing ever gets past his high standards. He believes only the strongest deserve a place in his world, and he has never apologized for it. But beneath his sharp suits and powerful walk, Cabello carries old scars he never talks about. He remembers the days he stood outside offices, hoping someone would just give him a chance. He remembers being ignored, judged, and told he didn't look ready for success. Those memories hardened him. So now he expects every person who enters his building to fight with the same force he once used to climb out of poverty. To him, showing feelings means giving up control, and giving up control means losing everything he worked for. People admire his achievements, but they whisper about his coldness. Some say he has forgotten what it means to struggle. Others say he has trained himself to feel nothing at all. His board loves his results but worries about his impossible expectations. Still, no one questions him openly. His voice is final, and his decisions shape the entire company. Every morning, he arrives before the sun rises, checking performance charts, reviewing reports, and planning new expansions. He watches the city from the top floor, confident he understands everyone who walks through his doors. To him, weakness is a danger, a crack that can destroy a whole system. So he eliminates it the moment he sees it. Yet, without knowing it, his own past is waiting to challenge him again. A moment is coming that will shake the walls he built around himself. Someone unexpected will walk into his world. Someone who does not fit his rules. Someone carrying silent pain he has tried to forget. Someone who will make him question everything he believes about strength. Outside the tall glass entrance, Miremba Kunda tries to steady her breathing, but her hands keep trembling. She wipes her cheeks quickly, hoping no one notices the tears she has been fighting for the last hour. At only 22, she already feels the weight of life pressing on her shoulders. Her interview is minutes away, yet her confidence is slipping. She keeps her torn folder close to her chest so strangers won't see the worn edges or loose pages inside. Her shoes are old, the color faded from long walks under the sun. She knows people around her can afford better, but she has learned to keep her eyes down and her spirit quiet. Every heartbeat feels loud. She looks at her reflection in the lobby window and forces a small smile she doesn't believe. Her stomach twists with fear. Not because she doubts her ability, but because failure today means going home with nothing again. She thinks about her mother, lying in a hospital bed waiting for medicines she cannot afford. That thought alone keeps her from turning away. It keeps her sitting in that spot, even when her nerves threaten to break her completely. As she waits, people in expensive clothes walk past her without a single glance. She tries to straighten her back, hoping to appear strong, but her body keeps shaking. She whispers to herself, "You can do this." Even though her voice barely comes out, she rubs her palms against her skirt, hiding how cold and sweaty they are. A security guard walks by, staring at her for a moment, and she quickly wipes her eyes again, pretending she was just adjusting her hair. Inside her bag are handwritten notes she practiced late at night, lit by a small lamp in her tiny room. She studied every possible question, repeated every answer until she memorized them by heart. But now, sitting outside the very building she dreamed of working in, all those answers seem to disappear. Her fear of rejection grows stronger with every passing second. Still, she refuses to leave. She breathes slowly, trying to gather the last bit of courage she has. The world around her feels too big, too bright, too fast, yet she holds on. She knows this might be her only chance to change her life, to help her family, to prove she is more than her struggles. Even with tears drying on her face, she prepares herself to stand up and walk inside, hoping something, anything, goes right today. Stepping out of his sleek black car, Cabello adjusts his jacket, ready to walk straight into the building without wasting a second. His mind is already on meetings, deadlines, and the long list of things he expects people to deliver. But then he notices someone sitting near the lobby entrance. A young woman, head down, shoulders shaking. At first he feels irritation rise, the same irritation he feels whenever he sees anything he considers unprofessional. He is about to walk past her when she quickly wipes her face and tries to look normal, as if begging the world not to see her pain. That small, desperate movement makes him stop mid-step. She isn't loud. She isn't creating a scene. She is only trying to hide sadness she clearly can't control. Something about that hits him in a place he didn't expect. He watches her struggle to pull herself together, her hands trembling as she presses a torn folder against her chest. Cabello should ignore her. He always ignores emotion. But for some reason he can't look away. He notices her shoes, worn out from too many long walks. He notices how she keeps her eyes down even when people pass near her. She looks terrified but still holding on to something. Maybe hope, maybe determination, he can't tell. What confuses him more is the way she is trying so hard not to be seen crying. It reminds him of moments he buried deep, moments he never talks about. Cabello takes a few slow steps closer, not sure why he's doing it. His usual coldness softens just a little as he studies her. She feels his presence before she even looks up. When their eyes meet, she quickly turns away and wipes her cheeks again, as if embarrassed to be caught. Her reaction isn't dramatic, it's quiet and honest. And that quiet honesty shakes him more than he expects. For a second, he feels something unfamiliar, concern. He tries to push it away, but it lingers. His mind tells him to move on, but his feet don't. Instead, he stays there, watching her trying to pretend she's fine, even though her whole body shows she's not. It's the first time in a long while that something breaks his focus, and he doesn't know what to do with the feeling. He walks closer, his shadow falling over her, and she slowly lifts her head, unsure of what to expect. Cabello's voice comes out sharp, without a drop of softness as he asks, "If you're this emotional, how will you survive in my company?" His tone is cold enough to make anyone shrink, and Miremba feels every word strike her like a blade. She instantly freezes, unable to breathe for a moment. Her eyes widen as she realizes exactly who is standing in front of her. The man she hoped would one day sign her appointment letter is the same man questioning her strength while she is at her weakest. Her throat tightens, and she wants to speak, but no sound comes out. Her heart pounds in her chest, louder than the noise of the city around them. She tries to sit up straight, tries to wipe her cheeks again, but her hands won't stop shaking. She wants to look confident, but instead her face burns with humiliation. She never wanted him to see her like this, broken, tired, and scared. She came here dreaming of proving herself, not showing her vulnerability to the one person known for having no space for softness. For a moment, she thinks about standing up and walking away. The embarrassment feels too heavy. The way he looks at her makes her feel small, like she doesn't belong in a place like this. She lowers her eyes, wishing the ground would swallow her. She whispers a quiet apology, but the words barely leave her lips. Cabello watches her reaction closely. He expected her to defend herself or maybe break down further, but instead she sits silently, trying her best to hold herself together. That silence surprises him. He notices the way she bites her lip to stop it from trembling. He sees her clutching her folder, like it's the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Something in her expression carries a mix of fear and determination, a combination he hasn't seen in a long time. His question was harsh, too harsh, but he never takes his words back. Still, as he waits for her to respond, he feels a strange pull, a curiosity he didn't plan on. Miremba finally gathers enough courage to meet his eyes. Even though her vision is blurred with tears, she refuses to let fall again. She wants to answer him, to show him she is not weak, but the shame sitting in her chest makes her voice shake. She swallows hard, trying to stop her feelings from spilling out. In that moment, the world feels painfully still, as if everything depends on what she says next. Suddenly, her voice breaks through the heavy silence, soft and shaky, but honest in a way she can no longer hide. She lowers her eyes and quietly explains that her mother is lying in a hospital bed, struggling without proper treatment. She says she walked 7 long kilometers under the hot sun, because she didn't even have enough money for the cheapest transport. Each step felt impossible. Yet she kept going because missing this interview would mean losing the only hope she has left. She tells him this opportunity is not just a job to her. It is the only way she can support her family and keep her mother alive. The words slip out slowly, but every sentence carries the weight of her reality. As she speaks, she tries hard not to cry again. She doesn't want pity. She only wants a chance. Her fingers tighten around her folder, as if it is the last little piece of her dignity she has. She explains that she has been doing small jobs, selling items on the street, and skipping meals just to save enough for this day. She studied late into the night, preparing for an interview she wasn't sure she would even reach. But she walked anyway, pushing through tired legs and a breaking heart because her family is waiting for her help. Cabello watches her closely, and for a moment he forgets to breathe. He didn't expect this truth. He didn't expect someone so young to carry such a heavy burden. Her words echo in his mind, each one hitting with surprising force. He sees the exhaustion on her face, the desperation in her shaky breath, the courage it took for her to admit something so painful. Her honesty feels raw and unsettling. She isn't making excuses. She is simply telling him why she cannot afford to fail. She keeps her gaze low, afraid to see judgment in his eyes. She thinks he will dismiss her, just like many others have done before. She thinks revealing her struggle has ruined her chances even more. Her shoulders tremble as she whispers that she doesn't want special treatment, only an opportunity to prove she can work hard, learn fast, and earn enough to save the person she loves most. When she finishes speaking, the air around them feels different, heavier yet strangely fragile. She sits silently, waiting for him to respond, her heart pounding with fear that she has said too much. She doesn't know that her truth has already reached a part of him he thought no longer existed. Her story rips into Cabello in a way he does not expect. For a moment, the confident businessman disappears, and the memories he has buried for years rise to the surface. He suddenly sees himself in her, young, struggling, and terrified of missing the one chance that could change everything. He remembers standing outside office doors with borrowed clothes and a hopeful smile, only to be turned away again and again because people thought he looked too desperate to be trusted. He remembers wiping his face before interviews, pretending he wasn't exhausted or hungry. Every detail of her pain feels like a mirror reflecting a chapter of his own past. The more he looks at Miremba, the more he feels that forgotten version of himself staring back. He recalls walking long distances because he had no money for transport. He recalls carrying documents in a plastic bag because he couldn't afford a proper folder. He recalls the humiliation of being judged before even speaking. Those memories were the fuel behind his tough rules, the force that pushed him to build an empire where no one could ever make him feel small again. But now, for the first time in years, those old wounds throb with fresh emotion. He sees the same hunger he once had, the hunger to survive, to rise, to make life better for the people waiting at home. Her trembling hands, her quiet voice, her worn-out shoes, they are pieces of a struggle he knows too well. The truth she shared doesn't just touch him, it shakes him. It makes him question whether he has become the kind of person who once hurt him. A part of him wonders how many people he has ignored because he refused to look past the surface. Cabello feels his chest tighten with a strange mix of guilt and recognition. He realizes that the toughness he is so proud of was born from the same fear she carries now. For the first time in a long while, he understands that strength doesn't always look cold and controlled. Sometimes, strength looks like a girl walking 7 kilometers with hope in her heart and tears she tries to hide. He studies her face one more time, and it becomes clear to him that she is not weak. She is fighting the same battle he once fought, only with fewer chances and harsher circumstances. And standing there, he feels something shift inside him, something he thought he had lost forever. Instead of stepping aside and allowing her to walk into that room alone and terrified, Cabello makes a decision that shocks even himself. He tells her to stand up, then gently guides her toward the entrance. She follows slowly, confused and nervous, unsure why the same man who questioned her so harshly is now walking beside her. When the door of the interview room opens and the panel sees who enters first, every face turns stiff with surprise. Some even shift uncomfortably in their seats. Cabello has never, not even once, personally brought a candidate into an interview. His presence alone sends a wave of panic through the room. He doesn't explain anything. He simply nods toward a chair, signaling Miremba to sit. The interviewers exchange worried glances, whispering silently with their eyes. No one wants to make a mistake in front of the man known for firing people without hesitation. They clear their throats and begin asking questions, their voices slightly shaky. Miremba feels her heart pounding, but she forces herself to breathe. She focuses on each question, answering slowly, clearly, and honestly. Her fear doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls her. Cabello sits at the back of the room, arms crossed, observing every detail. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't offer hints, doesn't give her any unfair help. He only watches her, almost studying her. And as she speaks, he sees something the panel hasn't noticed. Her sincerity, her effort, her hunger to learn. She doesn't pretend to know things she hasn't learned yet. She doesn't try to show off. She simply speaks from the heart, sharing her ideas and experiences with a quiet confidence that grows stronger with each answer. The panel relaxes a little as they listen to her. They begin to realize she isn't like many candidates who come prepared with memorized lines. She talks about challenges she faced and solutions she tried, even when resources were limited. She explains how she taught herself skills using old notes and borrowed books. She describes the simple system she created to manage tasks at home, showing natural problem-solving abilities. From his seat, Cabello notices the slight spark in her eyes whenever she talks about something she enjoys. He sees how she straightens her back when she feels proud of an answer. He sees her potential, raw, but undeniably strong. The room grows completely silent as she finishes her final response. For the first time that day, she looks up and meets Cabello's gaze, and he knows, without a single doubt, that bringing her into this room was the right choice. Miremba carefully opens her bag and takes out a small, worn notebook. The edges are frayed, the pages slightly yellowed, but inside are sketches, diagrams, and notes filled with ideas for apps she had imagined over the years. Each page tells a story of creativity and thought, ideas that could solve real problems, but have never been seen by anyone important. She lays it gently on the table in front of the panel, explaining each concept as clearly as she can, even though her voice trembles slightly from nerves. The simplicity of her presentation hides the depth of her intelligence. Every line she drew, every note she wrote, shows that she has been thinking, learning, and experimenting long before anyone ever noticed her potential. Cabello leans forward, his eyes scanning the pages one by one. At first he expects them to be rough and unprofessional, but instead he sees innovation, problem-solving, and originality. The notebook is not polished and it doesn't have fancy designs or corporate jargon, but it has something much rarer, raw talent. He begins to understand that this young woman, who walked 7 kilometers with hope in her heart, is not fragile or weak. She has been unheard, unsupported, and underestimated her entire life, yet she created these ideas out of determination and imagination. The panel members glance nervously at Cabello, noticing his reaction. He doesn't speak, but his expression changes subtly, a mixture of surprise, respect, and recognition. He remembers what it felt like to have ideas ignored, to struggle silently, to be judged before anyone listened. Watching her now, he feels a connection to that same version of himself, and he realizes how much potential was hidden simply because no one had given her a chance. He sees that brilliance is not always loud or polished. It is sometimes quiet, raw, and waiting for someone to notice. Miremba explains how each app could help people improve daily life or create opportunities for small businesses. Her passion grows as she speaks, and her confidence begins to shine through the fear she felt earlier. Cabello notices the spark in her eyes, the energy in her gestures, the clarity of her thought. He understands that she has the mind of someone who could truly make a difference, if only she were given guidance and support. For the first time that day, he no longer sees her as just a nervous, emotional girl. He sees her as a creator, a thinker, and a force ready to grow. He quietly acknowledges that brilliance can be hidden in the most unexpected places, and sometimes all it needs is one person to recognize it. Cabello rises slowly from his chair, the room immediately falling into a tense silence. Every pair of eyes in the interview room is fixed on him, unsure what he is about to do. He has never interrupted an interview, never stepped beyond his strict recruitment rules, and never openly endorsed a candidate in front of his panel. For a moment, even the seasoned interviewers hesitate to breathe, sensing the weight of the moment. Cabello looks directly at Miremba, and in a calm but firm voice he declares, "She's hired instantly." The words hang in the air, and for a second, nobody moves. Shock spreads across the room like wildfire. The panel members exchange stunned glances, unsure if they heard correctly. They know how meticulous and rigid Cabello usually is, how he follows every protocol to the letter, and how he rarely, if ever, shows emotion. To see him bypass the rules so decisively is unheard of. Miremba freezes as well, disbelief and joy battling within her. Her heart pounds in her chest, and for a moment she cannot speak. The dream she had clutched so tightly for weeks has suddenly become real. Cabello's decision is more than just a hire. It's a signal to everyone present that he has seen something in her that cannot be ignored. Her perseverance, honesty, and raw talent have broken through the wall of his usual detachment. He watches as Miremba slowly gathers herself, trying to process the sudden shift in her future. Her hands still tremble slightly, but now they hold a spark of hope, a fire that had been nearly extinguished by fear and struggle. The room remains quiet, heavy with the tension of witnessing something unexpected. For the first time, the interviewers realize that Cabello's decisions are not always about rules or protocols. They can also be about recognizing true potential when it appears. He sits back, observing the panel's reaction, knowing they are witnessing a moment that will be talked about for months. His focus remains on Miremba, seeing in her the same courage and determination that once drove him to succeed against impossible odds. Miremba finally manages a small, trembling smile, barely able to believe what just happened. She whispers a quiet thank you that goes straight to Cabello, who nods once, acknowledging her effort without another word. In that instant, the room understands. A young woman's courage, honesty, and hidden brilliance have changed the course of her life, and even the notoriously cold billionaire has been moved to act differently than anyone ever expected. Cabello steps out of his car and gestures for Miremba to join him, surprising her with the personal attention. She hesitates for a moment, unsure if this is real, but he simply opens the door and helps her in. As they drive through Nairobi's busy streets, he asks quietly about her mother's condition, listening carefully to every word. Miremba explains the situation, her voice shaky but full of relief that someone finally understands the pressure she has been under. Cabello nods, his mind already making arrangements. When they reach the hospital, he walks in beside her, approaches the counter, and without hesitation, pays all the medical bills. Miremba stands frozen, tears forming again, this time from hope instead of fear. She never imagined that someone like him would care enough to step into her world so fully. He doesn't stop there. Cabello returns to his office with a plan forming in his mind. He calls the HR department and designs a special trainee position just for her, tailored to her skills and potential. It's a unique opportunity, one that allows her to learn, grow, and contribute without being weighed down by experience she doesn't yet have. The team is shocked when they hear of the decision. They know Cabello as strict, unyielding, and distant. Yet today he has bent rules, guided someone personally, and shown a side of himself that few have ever seen. Word spreads quickly through the company. People whisper in hallways and over coffee machines, sharing the story of the cold billionaire who suddenly changed. They talk about the girl who walked into an interview with tears on her face, and how her courage and honesty transformed not only her own life, but also the man who rarely shows emotion. It becomes a story of hope, determination, and unexpected compassion. Employees who had only known his strict rules begin to see him differently, as someone who remembers what it feels like to struggle and to dream against the odds. Miremba steps into her new role, carrying the notebook of ideas that had once been unseen, now ready to grow under guidance she could never have imagined. Her mother receives care, and her family's burden lifts slightly. Cabello, meanwhile, sits back in his office, reflecting quietly on the day. Something inside him has shifted. For the first time in years, he feels the warmth of empathy and the satisfaction of helping someone when it truly matters. The moment proves that even the hardest hearts can change, and that a single act of recognition can transform lives, for both the giver and the receiver. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful African tales. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories every day. Thank you for watching.